If you'd asked me 6 months ago how things were going, I would have said, can't complain. Nice house in the suburbs. 2 kids. A wife who still looked like she did when we met. Well, almost. A decent job in IT. A garage full of half-finished projects. Life was good enough. But here's the thing about good enough. It's like a crack in the foundation. You don't notice it at first, until one day, the whole damn house leans sideways. For me, that day was a Sunday. I'd been in the garage, working on my old '67 Mustang. Needed a new clutch, and honestly, I just needed an excuse to be alone. Claire had been distant for weeks. New perfume, late nights at the office, and a sudden obsession with spinning classes. Yeah, spinning. The woman hated cardio 2 months ago. I wiped the grease off my hands and walked inside. And there she was, sitting at the kitchen island, wearing a silk robe I hadn't seen in years. Hair curled, phone in hand, glass of white wine in front of her, at 5 p.m. on a Sunday. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Now, I'd already known. A buddy of mine works security at a local hotel. Texted me a photo a few weeks back. Claire, arm in arm with Mason. Mason, her mentor, her friend, her just a colleague. Yeah, that Mason. Since then, I'd been collecting the puzzle pieces. Hotel receipts, text message screenshots, even a nice little video clip from our front door cam. Mason must have thought he was smooth. Pro tip, Mason, doorbell cam see everything. So that evening, with everything sitting neatly in a folder on my laptop, I decided it was time. No shouting, no drama, just truth. I walked into the kitchen and said calmly, Claire, we need to talk. She sighed, not surprised, not scared, almost annoyed, like I'd interrupted her scroll through Instagram. Then she looked up and said, what about? I met her eyes. I know about you and Mason. A long pause. And then, she actually laughed. A soft little laugh, like I'd told her a bad joke. Then she leaned back, took a sip of her wine, and gave me that look. You know the one. The condescending, oh, silly man look. And then she said it. Stop being foolish. There won't be a divorce. Matter of fact. Like she was telling me the weather. As if she controlled the outcome. As if I'd just fold, sweep it under the rug, and go back to playing house. That's when something inside me clicked. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Just a quiet, cold clarity. And I smiled. I just need one night to prove otherwise. She tilted her head. Smirked. What are you planning now, huh? A dramatic speech? A fight? You won't do it. You're too soft. And with that, she turned back to her phone. Like I was dismissed. But here's what she didn't know. I'd been soft long enough. And I'd spent the last 3 weeks planning this night down to the minute. I didn't say another word that night. Just gave her a small nod, walked out of the kitchen, and headed straight for my office. Shut the door. Locked it. Claire thought she'd won. She thought I'd back down. That I'd swallow it like a good little husband. But what she didn't know was that for the past 3 weeks, I'd been preparing for this exact moment. See, once I had proof of the affair, I didn't confront her right away. No, that's what amateurs do. They go in half-cocked, full of rage, and the cheater always has an excuse ready. Gaslighting. Tears. Though we can work through this speech. I wasn't going to give her that chance. I'd already been to a lawyer. A damn good one. Gerald Lane. Old school, sharp as a scalpel. He'd drawn up a divorce filing airtight enough to make a shark proud. And here's the kicker. We had a prenup. Claire had insisted on it back when we married. Just in case. Irony's a funny thing. The prenup had an infidelity clause. No spousal support if she cheated. And guess what? Now I had more than enough evidence. But I didn't just want a clean divorce. No, I wanted the truth seen. Because Claire was the type who thrived on image. PDA queen. Instagram mom. Power couple parties. She cared about what people thought, more than she cared about the people themselves. So I planned a little family dinner. I spent Monday morning making calls. First, her parents. Hey Tom, Margaret. Want to come by Friday night? Just dinner. No big deal. Of course, son. We'd love to. Then my brother, Mike, always had my back. 2 of our close friends. And one wild card. Her best friend, Jenna. Jenna had her suspicions about Mason for months. I figured she deserved a front row seat. By noon, the invites were out. Just a small dinner, catching up. 7 p.m. Friday. Claire was none the wiser. She thought I'd come to my senses, that her little "there won't be a divorce" speech had done the trick. She even texted me a smiley face later that day. I didn't reply. Meanwhile, I was prepping the rest. Pulled all the files, emails, texts, hotel receipts, the doorcam footage. Compiled it into a neat little slideshow. Subtle. Classy. Just the facts. Then I called Steve, an AV guy I'd known for years. Ran tech at a local conference center. "Steve, think you can help me rig a clean feed to the living room TV? You throwing a surprise party?" "Something like that. I'll make it worth your while." Steve came by Thursday. Took him 20 minutes. I tested it. Slideshow was ready. All I had to do was click the remote. And then, just to cover all angles, I visited my bank. Moved half our joint funds to a new account under my name. Legal pre-advice from Gerald. I wasn't going to get screwed financially, too. By Friday morning, everything was in place. Claire was in a good mood, humming around the house, texting someone, "Gee, I wonder who." She even asked what she should wear for dinner. I smiled and said, "Something nice. I want you to look your best tonight." She laughed and twirled her hair. "Well, when you're not being foolish, you can be charming." I just smiled, because what she didn't know was that this was the last night she'd ever wear that smug little smile under my roof. Friday night, 7 p.m. sharp. Guests started to arrive, wine bottles in hand, smiles on their faces, none of them knowing what was about to hit. Claire looked stunning. I'll give her that. Red dress, hair curled, heels. You'd never guess she'd spent the last few months sneaking off with Mason. She greeted her parents at the door like the perfect daughter. Kissed my cheek in front of them, like the perfect wife. If I hadn't known better, I might have believed the act myself. I played the part too. Calm. Polite. I poured drinks. Made small talk. My brother Mike gave me a quick glance, a little, "You good? Look." I gave him a small nod. He didn't know exactly what was coming, but he knew something was up. By 7:45, everyone was seated. Wine poured. Plates full. Laughter, conversation, a typical suburban dinner scene. And then, it was time. I stood up, holding my glass. "Before we move to dessert, I'd like to share something with all of you." Claire gave me a puzzled smile. "Oh, what's this about?" I picked up the remote. "Just a few things I think we should all see." And with one click, the living room TV came to life. First slide, a text message exchange. "Claire and Mason. Can't wait to see you tonight, Red Heart. Last night was amazing. You drive me crazy." Date stamps. Timestamps. No room for doubt. Silence. Her father's wine glass froze halfway to his mouth. Next slide, hotel receipts. Weekends Claire had claimed were business trips or girls' weekends. Same hotel. Same room number. Paid on our joint card. Murmurs. Shifting in chairs. Then the piece de resistance video footage. Mason entering our house. Multiple times. Doorbell can caught it all. One clip even had him giving Claire a goodbye kiss on my front porch. Date and time stamped, when I was away on a work trip. You could hear a pin drop. Her mother's face went pale. My brother sat back, arms crossed. Her best friend Jenna? Hands over her mouth, eyes wide. And Claire. At first frozen, then red-faced, then white as a sheet. Finally, she stammered. "Ben, what are you doing?" I looked at her. Calm. Voice steady. Showing the truth. And here's one more thing. I walked over to the sideboard, opened a folder, and laid divorce papers on the table. "These are ready to be filed. You can sign them tonight, or we can take it to court. But either way, this marriage is over." Her father finally found his voice. "Claire, is this true?" She opened her mouth, probably to spin some story, but there was nothing left to spin. The evidence was right there, playing on a 65-inch screen in front of half her world. She tried one last pathetic move. You wouldn't dare ruin our image like this." I looked her dead in the eye. "You already did. I'm just making sure it's not swept under the rug." Silence again. No one touched their plates. Finally, her best friend Jenna stood up. "I think I've seen enough." One by one, people began leaving. Quiet. Embarrassed for her. Her parents didn't even look at her as they walked out. Her mother was crying. Claire sat alone at the table, trembling, mascara streaked. I leaned in and said softly, "Stop being foolish. There will be a divorce. And it just started tonight. Then I picked up my jacket and walked out the front door. The night air never felt so good. I walked out of that house, my house calm, steady, not a single ounce of regret in my step. Behind me, the living room was a mess of silence and shame. I didn't look back. I drove straight to my brother Mike's place. He opened the door, already in sweats, 2 beers in hand. "You all right?" I nodded. "Better than I've been in months." We sat on his back porch for hours, under the stars. No words needed for a while, just the kind of quiet only brothers understand. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed nonstop in my pocket. Calls. Messages. All from Claire. I didn't answer. At around midnight, Mike finally asked, "What's next?" I took a sip of beer. "No?" I wait. And I let her world catch up to what just happened. Because here's the thing for Claire, it wasn't just about losing me. She was about to lose the image. The perfect life she curated for years. Instagram queen. PDA chair. Suburban goddess. And by Saturday morning, that image was already cracking. When I woke up, my phone had nearly overheated from notifications. Texts from mutual friends. Emails from people we both knew. A few brave souls even apologized. We had no idea. So sorry. Apparently, Jenna had wasted no time. Word was already spreading. Half the PDA moms knew by 10 a.m. By noon, Claire's Instagram was white. No more power couple posts, no happy family brunch pics. Just vanished. That afternoon, Gerald, my lawyer, called. "I heard it was quite the event, Ben." "You could say that." He chuckled. "Good. Now, here's the timeline. We file first thing Monday. No delays." I agreed. And then, just as I hung up, Claire called again. For the 12th time that day. This time. I answered. Her voice was shaky, almost pleading. "Ben, we need to talk. Please." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't cuss. Just said, "There's nothing left to talk about. You made your choice. Now you live with it." She started crying. Real tears this time. "You don't understand. If this goes public, I'll lose everything." I stayed silent for a beat, then replied, "You should have thought of that before you brought Mason into my home." And then I hung up. By Sunday, it was everywhere. Mutual friends distancing themselves. Her parents? They weren't speaking to her. I heard from her dad through Mike, "Give us some time, Ben. We didn't raise her for this." I appreciated that. Not their fault. But for Claire, the walls were closing in fast. Monday morning, bright and early, Gerald filed the papers. I got the confirmation email before breakfast. An hour later, Claire texted me one last time. "Please, can we fix this before it ruins us both?" And all I sent back was one line. "Stop being foolish." By Monday afternoon, the first real cracks started to show. Claire always thought she was a master of control, queen of appearances. She figured if she could just get to me, smooth it over behind closed doors, the damage would fade. But not this time. Not after that dinner. Not after everyone saw the truth with their own eyes. By Tuesday, the PDA board had politely asked her to step down. Word was Jenna didn't even have to push. The other moms weren't willing to tie their reputations to Claire anymore. Her gym friends? Silent. Those perfect Instagram brunch photos? Gone. And Mason? Well, rumor was his wife had found out too. I heard that little Jim from my brother. Apparently Mason's wife had gotten a copy of the same video I showed at the dinner. How? Let's just say a little USB drive made its way into her hands. Not my doing, of course. Jen is a resourceful woman. By midweek, Mason had vanished from Claire's contact list. Blocked her number. Blocked her on socials. I'll admit, that one made me smirk. So much for there won't be a divorce. Then came the real kicker. Thursday morning, Claire showed up at my office. I was in the middle of a project review when the receptionist buzzed me. Ben, your wife is here. She says it's urgent." I took a breath, walked out to the lobby. And there she was, sunglasses on, makeup barely holding, looking like she hadn't slept in days. She pulled me aside, voice low, desperate. "Please, can we talk? Just 5 minutes." I crossed my arms. "Calm. Claire, you should speak to my lawyer." She grabbed my arm. "Ben, please. It's all falling apart. Mason's wife is threatening to sue. My parents won't speak to me. I I can't do this alone. I looked at her, really looked. Gone was the smug, condescending woman from last week. Now she was just scared, exposed. And frankly, it wasn't my problem anymore. You made your choices, Claire. Actions have consequences. I suggest you start facing them. Her voice cracked. You're really going to do this to me? And I said the line I'd waited days to deliver. No, Claire. You did this to yourself. Then I turned and walked back into my office. By Friday, the divorce paperwork was in full motion. Gerald called. Her lawyer reached out. Seems she's eager to settle now. No contest. She wants to avoid court. I smiled. Imagine that. No spousal support. I keep the house. Shared custody of the kids, which I was fine with. I wasn't going to punish them for their mother's mistakes. But one thing was clear. Claire's perfect little empire had crumbled. I'll be honest, part of me thought she might keep fighting, dragging this out to save face. But no, once the truth was public, her fight was gone. All that was left was acceptance. You'd think after all that, the reveal, the fallout, the phone calls, the failed apologies, I'd be wrecked. But here's the strange thing. I wasn't. I felt lighter. That Friday evening, 1 week after the dinner, I sat on my back porch with a cold beer, watching the sun dip behind the trees. No guilt, no sadness, just a quiet kind of relief. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. Claire had finally stopped calling. Her lawyer had confirmed she would sign the settlement next week. It was over. And me? I had no plans to rush into anything. Hell, I needed to figure out who I was again, without the constant dance of trying to please a wife who'd already checked out long ago. So I started simple. First thing, I took a few days off work. Told my boss. I just need some air. He understood. He'd heard the story. Small town, word gets around fast. Next, I cleaned out the house. Every reminder of Claire's perfect life, the curated art, the Instagrammable kitchen gadgets, the his and hers mugs, boxed up and stored in the garage. I repainted the bedroom. New sheets. New vibe. Hell, I even bought a second-hand record player and some vinyls, stuff I used to love before life got complicated. It wasn't about erasing her. It was about reclaiming the space, making it mine again. And the more I did, the better I felt. Friends started coming around more. Mike dropped by almost daily, bringing beer and dumb movies. Jenna, that Jenna, even invited me to join a weekend hiking group. Ben, you need to get out more, she said. You trying to recruit me or torture me? I joked. Truth was, I did need it. And then came the best surprise of all, my kids. At first, I worried, how would they take the split? But kids are sharper than we give them credit for. One night, my son, only 9, said quietly, Dad, it feels nicer here now. Like, no one's mad anymore. I nearly teared up. Out of the mouths of babes. That was the real turning point. Not the legal win. Not the public fallout. But knowing I'd created a home where my kids could breathe again. And as for me, I started running again, something I hadn't done in years. I fixed up the Mustang, finally got that new clutch in. And on Saturday mornings, instead of tiptoeing around Claire's moods, I'd grab coffee, hit the farmer's market, and just live. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. And you know what? That felt pretty damn good. And I was ready for that. By the time the divorce papers were signed, I wasn't even angry anymore. Claire came by the lawyer's office one last time. No grand speech, no last-minute plea. Just a tired look in her eyes, like she knew the game was up. She signed. I signed. It was done. Funny thing is, when I walked out of that office, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt free. For the first time in years, my life was my own. The weeks that followed were quiet, in the best way possible. No more late-night fights. No more cold shoulders. No more pretending. The house was peaceful. The kids adjusted quicker than I expected. Kids are resilient, and they could tell I was more present, more grounded. Mike and Jenna kept dragging me out of my comfort zone. We started a regular Saturday hike. Yeah, me, the garage guy, now climbing trails and breathing mountain air. And for once, I didn't mind it. Actually felt good. One evening, Jenna and I ended up grabbing dinner after a hike. She raised her glass and said, "To new chapters." I smiled. "To no more foolishness." She laughed. And that laugh? It didn't feel forced. It felt real. And as for Claire? Well, word was she tried to mend her image, but the cracks were too deep. Mason had disappeared completely. His wife had filed for her own divorce. The PTA? No way back in. Her parents still weren't speaking to her. I didn't take any pleasure in that. Truth is, I had moved past it. I didn't need revenge. I had my life back. One evening, about 2 months after everything, I was out in the garage working on the Mustang. Sunset was painting the sky. My son wandered in and handed me a root beer. You happy, Dad? I looked at him. Really looked? Yeah, buddy. I think I am. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't win because I exposed her. I didn't win because I got the better deal in the divorce. I won because I didn't let bitterness define me. Life had handed me a mess, and instead of drowning in it, I cleaned house, rebuilt, and chose peace. And you know what? If Claire ever reads this, if she ever wonders how I managed to walk away so calm after it all, I'd tell her this. Stop being foolish. Life moves on. And so did I.